Next question. What, if any, role do you think the mayor and city council should play in addressing the capacity issues, too many students for the number of spots in existing elementary schools, currently faced by Alexandria City Public Schools? How do you propose that the city council should work with the school board and superintendent to address this problem in the short term and the long term? We'll begin with you, Mayor Ewell.
Well, as a product of our public school system and a 10-year member in the school board from 74 to 84, certainly dedicated and committed to our public school system, but not just public school, but schools in general here in the city. I spend a lot of time working with our private and parochial schools as well. But in terms of it's a good thing that we're seeing an increase in enrollment in our schools, and certainly, as we heard earlier with the council candidates, the pre-K initiative and the need to expand those types of programs is very vital and essential. The city council is working with the school board and the superintendent. As a matter of fact, there is a work committee between the city schools and the city manager staff that has been at work to make certain that we spend a lot of time analyzing the enrollment projections to make sure that there's validity to those enrollment projections that will then lead us to make the right decisions collaboratively in terms of how many new schools we need to build and where they're located. The real fear I have is that we don't want to build the schools and not have the population to fill them, and then we have underutilized facilities.
We're several thousand students beyond the point where we should be thinking about this. The city now has allocated a good bit of money in the budget for several new schools. We may need several more. I would argue that it's been a real lack of planning right from the beginning. We've been pushing all sorts of development, hoping that it will pay for all sorts of things. Well, clearly it has not paid for providing land for schools and really the infrastructure for the schools. So we're quite far behind in the planning. The emphasis has been on development, more development, but not on careful development, not on making sure the development provides us the facilities that we need, the infrastructure we need, the revenue that we need in order to invest. We're reaching a point where our borrowing is so high, it's going to be very difficult for us to invest more heavily in a lot of new schools and things. So I think we've simply been, I don't know what we've been doing, but obviously we need to work much more closely with the school board, with the planning department, with the community to look ahead.
For this segment, rebuttal. They throw them up so fast. Yeah. And they try to do it real slick.
Well, we only have 2 to use, so we're just running out. But I would offer to my friend, Mr. McDonald, that not knowing in terms of what's happening and what's going on, maybe if you want to be the mayor, you ought to be part of the process early on to be engaged, to be there. We've had budget discussions probably for the last 5-6 years relative to our CIP program for the public schools and city as a whole, and excuse me, in the planning process, it's not something that you just wake up today and say, I need a new school and we're going to float bonds to pay for it. It's a long process. Again, it has to be carefully planned. One, because you got to have confidence in the enrollment projections, but then secondly, in terms of where do you build the schools, and then you look at where future development is going to be and where it's needed and the like before you actually move forward with it. This council is committed to supporting the school system, the funding for 2 elementary schools, and right now we need to have a focus on what we do with our middle school.
Mr. McDonald.
Precisely. The school budget, or the transfer from the city to the schools, is a significant part of the city budget and a very important part. We've been developing helter-skelter without thinking about this. We've said we want more development because we want to lower people's taxes. Well, now we're getting into a point where we're really in a bind. We may actually have to raise them in order to do the things. We've had a significant amount of residential development. It comes in the form of multifamily, which is taxed, or at least it's put under the commercial side. It's still taxed at the same rate. We've had an enormous number of people moving into the city, homeowners who want to now send their kids to the schools, want to have good parks, want to have all the things that people do when they're homeowners or renters. We have not been thinking ahead carefully, and now we're really at we have some serious infrastructure problems. Schools is just one of many.